In the 1980s, game development was a grueling mathematical grind. Creators worked in raw assembly code, fighting hardware limits just to put pixels on screen. French programmer François Lionet faced the height of this frustration in the late 80s. His task was to take the cult hit game Captain Blood and port it across several completely incompatible computer systems. Because the hardware architectures were so different, Lionet had to manually rebuild the same sprite movements and audio routines for every single port. He spent his days managing memory segmentation on early PCs. Memory segmentation is a technique that forces programmers to divide a computer's memory into small, fixed blocks. He even had to squeeze code into the narrow margins of the Commodore 64 screen just to get the game to fit. The constant repetition pointed to a better way forward. Instead of fighting these machines one by one, Lionet set out to build a universal translation layer, a program that could handle the heavy lifting for him. In 1988, Lionet and collaborator Konstantin Sotiropoulos released STOS Basic for the Atari ST. STOS was actually born from Lionet's personal dislike for the Atari's standard operating system. STOS bypassed the complex internal hardware of the machine. It gave users simple, high-level text commands to load images and sounds instantly. Treating game design like a visual spreadsheet, Click and Play removed the final barrier to entry. By 1990, Lionet released Amos Basic for the Commodore Amiga. Amos removed outdated line numbers and introduced structured programming. Structured programming is a method of organizing code into logical, distinct blocks like loops and subroutines. Amos was a commercial success, but Lionet's goal was still evolving. He wanted to remove the need for typing code entirely. As Microsoft Windows began to dominate the market, Lionet partnered with programmer Yves Lamoureux. Their new mission was zero-code game design. They found their inspiration in an unlikely place: accountants. They watched professionals using Microsoft Excel to build incredibly complex logical loops. Lionet noticed that while these accountants were essentially programming, the visual grid interface made them feel like they weren't. Click and Play's 1994 event editor organized game logic into a grid. A horizontal row defined a condition: player touches enemy. A vertical column assigned an action: destroy player. Users built complex behaviors just by placing simple icons, avoiding syntax errors. By treating game design like a visual spreadsheet, Click and Play removed the final barrier to entry for creators who didn't want to learn a traditional coding language. Lionet and Lamoureux eventually founded ClickTeam, a company dedicated to refining this visual programming model. Throughout the late 90s, they released a steady stream of tools, progressing from the entry-level, the Games Factory, to the much more powerful Multimedia Fusion. Each update removed earlier hardware limits. They added physics engines for gravity, hardware acceleration for better graphics, all while keeping the core grid. In 2013, they released ClickTeam Fusion 2.5. This version allowed a project built with the visual grid to be exported instantly to iOS, Android, and HTML5. Lionet had finally delivered professional, cross-platform power to everyday creators without forcing them to type a single line of code. Today, the ability for anyone to launch a commercial video game is a direct result of the visual tools ClickTeam pioneered. That legacy lives on through massive indie titles like the puzzle game Baba Is You and the hit platformer Spark the Electric Jester. Most famously, these tools birthed Five Nights at Freddy's, a billion-dollar franchise created entirely within ClickTeam Fusion. There's a strange irony in the fact that François Lionet, an engineer who rarely played video games himself, built the engines that drove the modern indie revolution. Lionet provided the tools that turned a generation of passive players into active creators. By dismantling the barrier of syntax, he proved that when technical friction disappears, the power to create belongs to everyone.